Emily nervously adjusted the ring on her finger as she waited for the elevator to reach the 20th floor. It was her first day as a legal assistant at the prestigious law firm Turner and Associates, and she wanted to make a good impression. Her mother Rose's ring had always brought her comfort in moments of anxiety, and today was no exception. Upon entering the spacious office, Emily was greeted by a smiling receptionist who directed her to her new desk. While organizing her belongings, she couldn't help but think of her mother. Rose had always been a strong woman, able to face difficulties with unwavering grace. Even in the toughest moments, her words were a source of courage. "You have a sparkle in your eyes, Emily," she would say when insecurity tried to take hold. The ring, now in her possession, became the constant reminder of her strength and perseverance. But now the daughter saddened at the thought of her mother, who was battling a degenerative illness that was gradually stealing her memories and energy. The young woman felt the weight of the responsibility of caring for her, but she also knew she needed to build her career. "Miss Emily." A voice pulled her out of her thoughts. "Mr. Richard would like to see you in his office now." With a racing heart, Emily walked down the corridor to the imposing wooden door. She took a deep breath, adjusted her blazer, and knocked lightly. "Come in," came the firm response from the other side. Entering, Emily was met with a tall, middle-aged man with grey hair and penetrating eyes. Richard Turner was known for his sharp intelligence and strong temperament. He was standing behind his desk, reviewing some documents. "Good morning, Mr. Richard. I am Emily, your new assistant," she introduced herself, extending a hand. Richard looked up to greet her, but something made him stop abruptly. His gaze fixed on the ring that Emily was wearing. For a moment, the lawyer's serious expression dissolved, giving way to a mix of surprise and emotion. "That ring," he murmured, his usually steady voice now trembling slightly. "Where did you get it from?" Emily, caught off guard by the unexpected reaction, looked at her hand. "Oh, this? It's my mother's. She lent it to me to bring me luck today." Richard remained silent for a few moments, as if lost in distant thoughts. Finally, he indicated a chair. "Please, have a seat. I would like to know more about your mother, if you don't mind." Confused but intrigued, Emily settled down and began to talk about Rose. She recounted how her mother had always been her greatest inspiration, a kind and determined woman who raised her daughter on her own while working as a receptionist in various places. As Emily spoke, Richard's expression softened. His eyes, usually calculating, were now teary. When Emily mentioned her mother's full name, Rose Smith, Richard let out a deep sigh. "Rose Smith. It can't be," he murmured, more to himself than to Emily. Noticing the confusion on his new assistant's face, Richard decided to share his story. He stood up, walked to the window that offered a panoramic view of the city, and began to narrate. "Many years ago, I was not the lawyer I am today. In fact, I was just a janitor in a small law office downtown. At that time, my life was a constant struggle to survive day by day." Emily listened intently, trying to understand the connection between her boss's story and her mother's ring. Richard continued, "People generally ignored me or treated me with indifference. Everyone except for a young receptionist named Rose Smith." Emily's heart skipped a beat at the mention of her mother's name. Richard had struggled with poverty since he was a child. He grew up in a humble neighborhood, without financial or familial stability. His parents worked all day, concerned only with survival, and never had the time or interest to encourage him. The father figure was absent, and the mother, when she was home, brought only exhaustion and indifference. Richard spent much of his childhood and adolescence feeling invisible, with no prospects. It was in his youth that he found himself facing the same harsh reality of survival. He worked in jobs that barely covered the bills, always in the daily struggle for a minimum of dignity. Many nights, not knowing how he would pay the rent or feed himself, he wondered how he would find the strength to continue. But, even in the midst of all this, there was Rose. She entered his life as a maternal figure at a time when he needed it most. Rose was different. She always had a smile on her face and words of encouragement for me. "You have a sparkle in your eyes, Richard. Don't give up, you'll get there," she used to say. And you know what? Without her encouragement, I wouldn't have made it. That's why I don't forget her and the ring that was always with her. Emily looked at the ring on her finger, a simple silver piece with a small blue stone. Her mother always said that ring was special and that she liked it very much. Richard sat down again, now with a nostalgic smile on his face. "Rose encouraged me to study, to pursue my dreams. She was impressed with my diction and articulation, and it was she who urged me to apply for a scholarship to study law." That sounds exactly like something my mother would do. "I've always been very influenced by her, which is why I'm here today," Emily remarked, feeling a mixture of pride and emotion. "I never had the courage to tell her how much her words meant to me," Richard admitted. "After a lot of effort and hard work, I earned my degree. I returned to the old office to thank Rose, only to find out that she had moved to another country. I looked for her for years without success. The only memory I had left was the image of that ring she always wore." Emily felt a tightness in her chest. That coincidence seemed inexplicable, but something inside her knew there was a greater purpose in that encounter. Suddenly, he asked if he could call or get in touch, but then the young woman's voice cracked, trembling, as if she were about to break down. "Richard," she began, hesitant, "my mother is very ill now. She has a degenerative condition that is affecting her memory. There are days when she can barely remember me." The news hit Richard like a punch in the stomach. The thought that the vibrant and full-of-life woman he once knew was now battling such a cruel disease was devastating. "I'd like to see her," Richard said, his voice laden with emotion. "If you allow it, of course." Emily hesitated for a moment. Her mother was fragile, and she didn't know how Rose would react to an unexpected visit from the past. But something in Richard's eyes, a mix of gratitude and hope, made her agree. That afternoon after work, Richard accompanied Emily to the small apartment where she lived with her mother. The journey was made in contemplative silence, both lost in their own thoughts about the incredible meeting of fate they were experiencing. When they entered the apartment, they were welcomed by a grey-haired lady sitting in a chair near the window. Rose appeared frail, but her eyes still had a gentle sparkle. "Mother," Emily called softly, "we have a special visitor today." Rose turned slowly, her eyes taking a moment to focus. When she saw Richard, something in her gaze shifted. For a brief moment, a spark of recognition crossed her face. "Richard," she said, her voice weak but clear. "How you have changed." Richard couldn't hold back his tears. He knelt beside Rose's armchair, gently holding her hands. "Rose," he began, his voice choked with emotion. "I spent years trying to find you to say thank you. Your words, your encouragement. You changed my life without even knowing." Rose smiled, a smile that lit up her entire face. "I always believed in you, Richard. I always knew you would go far." Emily watched the scene, moved. Seeing her mother have such a deep moment of clarity was a precious gift. In the days that followed, Richard became a constant presence in the lives of Rose and Emily. He used his influence and resources to connect Rose with the best specialists, seeking treatments that could improve her quality of life. Emily, in turn, found in Richard not just a boss, but a mentor. He guided her in her legal career, allowing her to grow professionally while honoring her mother's legacy. The months passed, and although Rose's condition could not be reversed, she lived her last days surrounded by love, care, and the certainty that her small acts of kindness had a profound and lasting impact. On a sunny afternoon during a small celebration for Rose's birthday, she had a surprising moment of lucidity. Looking at Richard and Emily, who were by her side, she smiled and said, "The world needs more people like you. Never stop believing in the power of small actions." Those words were etched in the hearts of Richard and Emily, constantly reminding them of the importance of compassion and kindness. Rose lived for a few more years, enjoying the company of her daughter and her rediscovered friend. Her life, although marked by illness in its final chapters, was rich in meaning, and left an incredible legacy for everyone who crossed her path. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.